The P-47 was the only single-seat Army airplane to use the Pratt & Whitney R2800 double-wasp radial engine. 73 inches long and over 52 inches in diameter, the R2800 weighed over a ton. The 18 cylinders you see here could produce 2,300 horsepower at takeoff. A two-stage supercharger gave the P-47 excellent high-altitude performance. However, by 1944, the Thunderbolt was usually relegated to the ground attack role. Here, the rugged double wasp proved itself an invaluable asset. Whereas airplanes powered by liquid-cooled engines could be brought down with a single shot to the radiator, the air-cooled Thunderbolt was better able to weather the small arms fire and flying debris encountered at low altitudes. The P-47 could carry up to 8 50-caliber Browning machine guns, 4 in each wing. With a standard ammunition loadout of 200 rounds per gun, the pilot had approximately 15 seconds of continuous fire. A well-placed 1-second burst from the 8 machine guns could put 13 pounds of lead on the target. The Thunderbolt could also carry up to 2,500 pounds of external stores, a 500 or 1,000-pound bomb under each wing, and a 500-pound bomb slung under the fuselage. Alternately, the bombs under the wings could be replaced by 5-inch high-velocity aircraft rockets. The P-47 cockpit was spacious by World War II standards. Most pilots declared the P-47 cockpit among the most comfortable and quiet of any U.S. fighter. There was plenty of headroom for looking around, and the bubble canopy provided the pilot with a clear view up, to the side, and over the tail. However, the big, wide radial engine obstructed the pilot's forward view whenever the nose was even slightly raised. In a three-point attitude on the ground, for instance, the pilot saw only the massive engine cowling. Taxiing had to be achieved by fishtailing the airplane to occasionally gain a forward view. Despite a superb low-drag airframe and revolutionary laminar flow wings, the original Allison-powered Mustang was too slow to compete with German single-seat fighters, especially at altitudes over 12,000 feet. British test pilots suggested that the Allison be replaced by the same Rolls-Royce Merlin engine powering RAF Spitfires and Hurricanes. This liquid-cooled 12-cylinder engine had a two-stage supercharger that provided the necessary power for high-altitude combat. Several Merlin-powered Mustangs were tested, and the results were favorable. The P-51D you see here was powered by a 1,590 horsepower American-built Packard Merlin engine. In early model P-51s, the thin wings forced ground crews to mount the airplane's 4 Browning 50 caliber machine guns on their side at oblique angles. This unusual positioning often resulted in jammed guns when maneuvering at high Gs. The problem was solved in the D model by thickening the wings, allowing the guns to be mounted upright. At the same time, the Mustang's standard armament was increased from 4 to 6 machine guns. In addition to the guns, 5-inch rockets could be fitted onto zero-length launchers under the wings. Alternately, each wing could be loaded with a 500 or 1,000-pound bomb. The narrow P-51 fuselage meant that the Mustang's cockpit was small for a U.S. fighter of World War II. Compared to British and German fighters, however, the cockpit was generously spacious, while seat and pedal adjustments could accommodate pilots of various sizes. Earlier Mustangs utilized either a birdcage canopy or the RAF's Malcolm hood. The D model saw the introduction of the clear bubble or teardrop-shaped canopy made of plexiglass. This canopy provided the pilot with an excellent unobstructed 360-degree view. Altogether, visibility in the Mustang was rated among the best of any U.S. fighter in the war. The original 1937 specifications for the Lightning called for a high-altitude fighter capable of long, full-throttle endurance at 20,000 feet. At the time, no single power plant existed which could fulfill this extraordinary performance demand. Lockheed's solution was to increase the number of engines and house them in an unusual twin-boom airframe. The resulting fighter, powered by two 1,425 horsepower Allison inline engines, was heavier than many light bombers of the day. However, the fork-tailed configuration offered unforeseen advantages, providing ample space for radiators, superchargers, main landing gear, and weapons. Though not as maneuverable as the top German fighters of the day, the Lightning delivered on its promise of superior combat range. When carrying two 360-gallon drop tanks, the P-38J had a range of 2,300 miles, with an allowance for 10 minutes of dogfighting. The Lightning's twin-engine design allowed for a powerful array of firepower to be concentrated in the nose of the airplane. A single 20mm Hispano cannon was placed on the center line. Forming an arc over this gun were four 50-caliber Browning machine guns, staggered so that the ammunition feeds and ejector chutes fell one behind the other. External stores were carried on two pylons, located between the fuselage and each of the engine nacelles. The P-38J could carry up to 4,000 pounds of bombs. With a slightly smaller bomb load, the Lightning could also carry 10 5-inch rockets under the outer wings. The Lightning's cockpit was generally thought to be roomy enough, though some pilots found the low canopy uncomfortable. Forward visibility was excellent, both in the air and on the ground. However, the booms and tailplane tended to obscure the pilot's vision in the lower rear quarters, a distinct disadvantage in air-to-air combat. The main shortcoming of the Lightning's cockpit was its inadequate heating system. This was not only a source of extreme discomfort for the pilot flying at high altitude, it could also cause frost to form on the canopy, which only made the pilot's visibility problem worse. When the German Focke-Wulf 190 first appeared in 1941, it quickly established itself as the dominant fighter on the Western Front. The RAF desperately needed a replacement for the Spitfire Mark V, but there was clearly no time to develop an entirely new fighter. Fortunately, Rolls-Royce had just finished work on a next-generation power plant, the Merlin 61, which could be readied for service with a minimum delay. This engine featured a new two-speed, two-stage supercharger, which boosted the Spitfire's maximum power and the altitudes at which that power could be maintained. The resulting aircraft, the Spitfire Mark IX, exhibited vastly improved performance and was considered by many to be the finest Spitfire of the war. The aircraft you see here was powered by a Merlin 63, which had a maximum rating of 1,650 horsepower. The so-called C-wing on this Spitfire 9 housed a total of 6 internal guns. 2 of these were 20mm Hispano cannons, one being located midway along each wing. 4 Browning 303 machine guns, 2 on each wing further outboard of the cannon, completed the array. In addition to the internal armament, one 250-pound bomb could be carried under each wing, and a 250 or 500-pound bomb could be fitted to a rack under the fuselage. Until teardrop canopies were adopted, visibility in the Spitfire cockpit was only fair. The armored firewall obscured visibility to the rear, although the situation was improved by the addition of curved molding directly overhead and a glass panel behind the pilot. For both American and German pilots, perhaps the most unusual object in the Spitfire cockpit was the ring-handled flight stick, a feature unique to British fighters of the era.